Hey guys, Professor Bill Comic Book University, and for this particular Spotlight on Story, I want to talk to you a little bit about the time that Doctor Doom and Spider-Man went at it one-on-one. Now, there's been a couple of times, but this one was special. All right, so getting right down to it, this is Amazing Spider-Man, 2 issues, issue number 349 and 350. All right, what we have here is the Black Fox. All right, he's this cool character. You go ahead and check out his description below. All right, Black Fox explained in a minute. Very basic character, but still fun, especially the times that he had with Ant-Man, the irredeemable Ant-Man, the 4th person to actually hold the Ant-Man armor. Probably some of the best stories with the Black Fox, but regardless, is basically just this old dude who's trying to rob a bunch of big things. He's always trying to get that last score, to retire on, but it never happens. He always wants more. So right now he's got his mind set on stealing the Trask diamond. All right, now Raymond Trask actually renamed this. There was some longer name for it that, whatever, not pronounceable by my lips, and he basically renamed it. Raymond Trask himself is just a very standard guy. He doesn't appear in many comics at all. He's just a very rich guy who got rich off of making casinos and things like that. And Wilson Fisk wanted to buy the guy out, and he said no and ran into trouble. He's not necessarily a bad guy. You know what I'm saying? He's just whatever. He's almost like a MacGuffin in this particular series, especially considering, this diamond, the Trask diamond, is the big MacGuffin here. So the Black Fox wants this. Now, he knows that this diamond is going to be at this particular museum and all this stuff, but he needs a place in order to set up his equipment and to basically hidey hole himself out. And he's not going to take some cheap little nickel and dime apartment, some sleazebag motel or something like that. So instead, he's going to go in style. So he wants a New York City penthouse with a nice view, by the way. Now, the way he pulls this off is genius. And it's a freaking story in and of itself. All right, he basically breaks into the place, steals this picture, doctors the picture. This obviously took like a second trip. You know what I'm saying? Doctors this picture so it looks like him and this guy are together. Acts like he's his brother, right? So he's like, oh, and to my brother, and on the picture, and it's framed and it's all in there. And it's looking really cool. Just whatever, man. And he forges this will and this elaborate setup, and then he just leaves. So he doesn't need to steal anything. He just leaves. So then he goes up and he's like, oh, yeah, it turns out that my brother died, and I think he's got his will. He said he kept it in his one drawer, and they find it there, and this whole big rigmarole happens, and the will left the penthouse and everything in it to him. So go figure. Now, mind you, this dude isn't dead. Black Fox found out this dude's off on safari, so he's gone for another week or two easily, right? So he's got this place all to himself, and I can only imagine, I wish they would have just did the whole thing, really quickly, just a panel or two, where he comes home and he's like, what do you mean I'm dead? I'm right here. What do you mean my apartment went to somebody else? What? That just would have been great. Just great. Not if it happened to me, but, since it's just a fictitious character, that was great. So this is what Black Fox does, and he starts setting up his base of operations there for this one big heist. Now, we're going to switch over to Peter Parker. Peter's out in his Spider-Man outfit, and he's, web-slinging and stopping crime. And there's a bunch of little, there's like this one purse snatcher. That's usually always Spider-Man's big thing, is catching a purse snatcher or, some low-life criminal like that, and then suddenly it leads into something bigger. Well, not too different here. Essentially, he stops this dude. Dude pulls a knife on him. It reminds me of that one, the first Amazing Spider-Man movie. Oh, you found my one weakness, knives. Anyways, he literally snaps the knife in half. And he webs up the guy and leaves him. The guy starts making all sorts of excuses. Like, this is my first time, my only time. I'll never do it again, I promise. Like, yeah, tell it to the cops. Leaves him, and the cops come and get him and all that. Peter's leaving the scene, and he's sitting there thinking to himself, that Black Fox guy, who I've run into a couple of times, he always gives excuses, and I always let him go, and I wonder why. He's like having, one of his little crises. He's wondering, why does he always let this guy go? But nobody else will he ever accept an excuse from. Well, interesting enough. So that's basically the little dilemma he has. But he goes home for lunch. All right, he goes home to lunch. He's got a big photo shoot later on. He's actually going to be covering the display of several different diamonds from all over and all sorts of different cool things, including Yes, the Trask diamond. So he's going to be up close and center, job for the Daily Bugle, taking snapshots. Okay. When he goes home, surprise, surprise, MJ is there. Now, she's supposed to be away doing her soap opera thing. That she's an actress doing soap operas at the time. And some play off of General Hospital, And she came home. She's like, she told her people, like, listen, I'm going to go home and have lunch with my husband, I'll be like 20 minutes long. And she's sitting there with her, with Peter. She's like, oh, I know I've been really neglectful. And mind you, she's in negligee. I don't think Mary Jane, during this particular time period, that 300 range of Amazing Spider-Man comics, I don't think she actually wore clothes for any of those issues. She was always in some kind of a sheer negligee or something along those lines. Yeah, that's all it was. And she's there, and of course, like, the sexual innuendo is dialed up to about 14. Because, everything's just, I know I've been really neglectful ever since the whole Venom incident. And two things. One, you know exactly what she means by neglectful, all right? Yeah, that. Two, Venom did just happen recently. It was just 50 issues ago, so approximately 2 years ago. So he's had a couple of encounters with Venom, the best encounters he's ever had with Venom, in my personal opinion. And of course, I think we all know that she was absolutely terrified. He had to get rid of the black Spider-Man outfit because it reminded her so much of Venom. So yeah, yeah, that was actually a really big deal. So it did freak her out, and she wants to try and make things up with him. So they stay home, and innuendo aside, they get it on, all right? They did it all for the Nookie so that he could get the cookie. That's all it was about, all right? Nice little Limp Bizkit reference right there for you. And she actually says at one point, yeah, so I said I would take like 20 minutes off, but I guess it could be 30. Yeah, okay. Go on with your little spider endurance. Just try not to give her any of that spider cancer. That's a different story. Okay, so at this point, Black Fox is basically realizing he's going to need a little bit more money for this heist. This is going to be a really big heist for him, So he starts selling off a few things, and he sells off this one emerald, this green emerald that he'd come across, and it's supposed to be worth, a couple of bucks. You know what I'm saying? Well, he goes to the buyer, and as it turns out, he was actually waiting for this diamond to come in. He already had this pre-sold. Now, the Black Fox asked for a little bit more money than what's being given, and it's funny because he's like, wow, I got more than I expected for this. And the other guy's like, Black Fox is an idiot. I would have paid 3 times for this. So, yeah, go figure. Not the brightest bulb in the Christmas light line. Anyway, so he goes out, and now at the photo shoot, Peter Parker specifically is taking a couple of pictures, and he recognizes the Black Fox. You know what I'm saying? He's dealt with it before. He recognized him. He's like, what the frig? So he Spidey's up, goes over there and catches him. He's like, what the heck, man? So, of course, he pleads his way out of it. He's like, please, 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 look here. I'll give you the diamond back. He stole the Trask diamond. He's like, here, I'll give it back. Please just let me go. Spider-Man's like, okay, fine, I'll let you go. Well, he lets him go. He comes to terms and realizes that the diamond that he gave him was actually just worthless glass. Yeah, real messed up. So Spidey got played. Looks like an absolute chump. Of course, Jameson's going to be all over this, right? J. Jonah Jameson, he's going to flip out over this, be like, aha, you see, Spidey was involved. He was in cahoots. Who says cahoots anymore besides J. Jonah Jameson? And honestly, I hope he never stops saying cahoots. Either way. So, mind you, all during this stuff, during all of this crazy stuff that's happening, we see that there's a big stretch limo with royal plates on it. We don't know from what country, we don't know from where, we don't know what's going on, but with royal plates on it following around the Black Fox. All right. And all sorts of different little mysterious things like that, whatever. Now, Black Fox, he's going out to try and find his, he's going out to his buyer, his fence, all right, to try and sell this Trask diamond at this point. Spider-Man, meanwhile, had put a tracer on him. So he's following the guy. He's like, he took the fake diamond and all that stuff, but he didn't trust him fully, so he threw a tracer on his leg. So he's following Black Fox also. He wants to shut down the whole operation. He's like, I'm sick and tired of this guy. I'm going to have to do what's right and turn the guy in. So he goes And there's this whole setup thing, and money winds up getting thrown all over the place because Spider-Man interrupts, and all sorts of crazy shenanigans ensue, antics ensue. I used to say that all the time on this channel. I don't do that anymore. I don't know why. Anyway, so try and bring that catchphrase back. In the meantime, suddenly Dr. Doom shows up. Yes, you guessed it. That was the royal plates in the stretch limo. Dr. Doom shows up and he starts kicking some serious butt. Now, he wants Black Fox in a major way. We don't know why yet. He goes after him, but Spider-Man keeps on trying to get involved. And each time, Doom is warning him, dude, you better chill. Now, those aren't exactly the words he uses, but you get my point. Well, finally, after all of this crazy stuff, Doom can't even get a word in edgewise against Black Fox. He's basically saying, you owe me. I'm coming after you. Your butt is mine. Spidey keeps on doing these stupid little tiny things on him, and Doom finally has enough. He turns around, and the beating that Spider-Man gets at this point it's unheard of. All right? Unheard of. And yes, Doom was holding back. All right? He clearly was holding back. Regardless, can you tell I like Dr. Doom? Anyway, he beats the holy hell out of Peter Parker, out of Spider-Man, actually gives him a concussion. He's contused. It's considered a minor concussion, but it's bad enough. And you'll see the results of this. He's got no balance left. He's got no energy left. He's got nothing. His tank is spent. So the only thing he could do is finally just come right out and be like, listen, Doom, please let him go. And I'm going to get, I'm like, what are you going after him for anyways? He says, well, fine, I'll tell you. I decided to try and do a goodwill act, and I was going to put out my the royal family jewels. I know it sounds weird, right? But the royal jewels of Latveria, and put them up for a tour display, around the world, so that people can actually see, what's going on. Oh, look, the beauty and the art of Latveria. Well, an employee of Doom's, who is now currently fired, accidentally put in that green gem emerald. Yeah, that actually belonged to his mother. It was, if not then one of the last artifacts that he has from his mother. So clearly, anybody who knows anything about Dr. Doom knows, if it has to do with Mama Doom, you don't mess with. You don't come in between that and Doom. You just don't. All right. It was kind of like it's kind of like one of those items. Like he could use this as a link to try that once a year go into hell and try and free his mother thing. So yeah, Black Fox, he messed up big time. And clearly, Spider-Man walking into this with just typical Spider-Man, not knowing what the hell he's walking into this and getting his butt kicked. He's lucky he came out of this alive. So he realized, listen, if I get the diamond back, if I get the emerald back, please spare, just go easy, go merciful. He's like, all right, fine. I will spare lives. You know what I'm saying? He never said he's going to spare the Black Fox's life. He means he's only going to spare Spider-Man's life. But we'll get to more of that later. So Spidey goes out and Black Fox escapes. Spider-Man goes out. He's trying to do his thing. He's all sorts of messed up. And he's like, I got to get to ESU and go talk to some of the professors there and see what's going on. He suddenly realized that Uncle Ben is hanging out with him. He's like, Uncle Ben, what are you doing here? Yes, of course, because he's contused. He's seeing some serious hallucinations. But the Uncle Ben is technically a part of his own conscious. And he's talking to him about, hey, Spidey, man, Petey, you're having a problem with catching the Black Fox and actually making anything stick with him because you have too much respect. You had all this respect for me, and you actually have some guilt still, obviously, with me. So you see this older guy, and he reminds you so much of me, except, he's a freaking criminal. That's the reason why you keep on accepting his excuses and let him go. So Peter's like, you know what? You're right. I'm going to have to handle this. So he goes in and he sees these professors. He's like, hey, can I introduce you to my dead Uncle Ben? And he faints. He goes to the hospital. He gets taken to the hospital. Mary Jane is actually wearing some clothes. All right. She's not fully negligeed out in the hospital, but it's skimpy enough. All right. Anyway, she's in there and she's like, Pete, I don't want you going back out. He's like, listen, I have to go out. Doom only gave me, he doesn't explain it to her, but basically Doom only gave him 24 hours. So he already wasted a lot of time. You know what I'm saying? So he gets out there. He's like, listen, that Spidey tracer that was on The Black Fox, it's not going to last forever. So I need to get out there, and I need to get out there now, and I need to try and find this guy because, like, his life genuinely depends on it. You know, if I find him first, then, and within 24 hours, then we're good. And meanwhile, Doom is literally counting down the clock, and he doesn't want to hear from any of his servants or his people, whatever, his subjects. He's just waiting patiently for Spider-Man to keep his promise. Yeah. So Spidey is able to track down the Black Fox, and the Fox goes back to his fence, and he's like, listen, I need to find out about that green emerald, all right? I need to get that green emerald back now. So the guy's like, well, you know, I can't do that. That's not the way the business works. And blah. He's like, listen, anything. I'll give you anything. He's like, really? Everything you got on you. Like, his fence literally just wants to humiliate him. So he's like, what do you have in your wallet? You know what I'm saying? Like, everything. He just completely shakes the guy down. You know, like, it's embarrassing. It really is. He goes for it, though. So then he goes after this guy, the Carpathian estate. Now, as it turns out, this is actually kind of a big freaking real deal. Like, there's an arcane society there, all right, that worships these creatures that came in an earlier issue of Spider-Man, where they're just these insectoid creatures who'd come down. It's a very simple story, but it actually gets recycled here. These guys are trying to use this egg. It's actually called the dragon's egg. The emerald, it's actually called the dragon's egg. And they're going to use it in this machine to draw a focus so they could communicate with these creatures, these insectoid creatures, and have them come back down to Earth and wreak some havoc. Well, it never actually happens because when Black Fox gets there, he's obviously outmanned, but him and contused Spider-Man go at it with these guys. And they're kicking some serious butt, but they're not kicking quite enough butt. But they get saved. They get saved because Dr. Doom comes in. And of course, Dr. Doom don't use doors, man. I don't think Doom, you know, that's the thing. He was raised in a barn practically, right? He was raised by gypsies out in gypsy land where there were just, you know, trees and things like that. There were no doors, all right? So Doom never understood the idea of a door. You remember that old story, he walks through the wall. It's like, well, you came through the wall like you were a bad guy. He's like, what should I do? He says, use a door. Is it like a commoner? Doom is not a commoner, man. So he comes walking through the wall, you know, with a shaka boom, like that, like it's Thor picking up Mjolnir, you know? Comes walking in, everybody's freaked out. Spidey says, hey, you want to team up with me too? He says, no, I just want my diamond. You know, I want my emerald, my dragon egg. So it's like, okay, well, I'm still going to use the confusion because everybody thinks that he's on our side anyway. So he's got that enough sense to do that. They beat up the bad guys. Doom gets his dragon nest egg back, and he's like, all right, Spidey, you lived up to your deal, so I'll let you live. But you, Black Fox, I'm a mow you down right now. So Spidey begs and pleads, and everything in the book, he's like, please, it will show that you're merciful, and he's so beneath you anyway. And, you know, doesn't Doom actually keep that Mauser in his belt pouch on the right side just for those kills that he has to make that are too beneath his armor? It's like, he'll just shoot you in the head instead. But whatever. Doom's like, you know, he's basically convinced, okay, fine, I'll let this guy live. But does he let him off scot-free? Oh no. Doom takes the Trask diamond, who he had his own henchmen go to the Black Fox's secret penthouse hideout and retrieve what was in the safe there. Yeah, that's sick. So he had the Trask diamond with him the whole time. And right in front of him, with his armor strength, he crushes the diamond right in front of him. Now, mind you, this is a diamond. And it's a big, dookie, fat diamond. I mean, like, it's gigantic, man. It's like, have you ever seen South Park? It's the size of Bono's turd. Yeah, like that. Just crushes it right in front of him, and Black Fox just there. No! Well, you know, so Black Fox is like, okay, cool, I'm going to get out of here. Yay. And Spider-Man's like, no, absolutely not. And he actually does lace him up, rope him up, whatever, web him up. And he actually gets taken away to the cops for the very first time. Spider-Man actually turns him in. Yeah, not exactly the greatest story in the world, but it is a good Black Fox story. And plus we have the added adventures of Dr. Doom and Spider-Man going at it. And yeah, it's worth reading just for that alone. But, you know, and it's an anniversary issue. It happened in issue number 350, you know? So having Dr. Doom and Spider-Man go at it, and Spider-Man literally just... he pulls just about everything in his books out against Doom. And Doom pulls a couple things out also. At one point, he actually does a whole molecular shrinkage thing. He's got the boulders in his gauntlet of his one wrist, but they're shrunk down with the pin particles, or his own version of it, because nobody's as smart as Doom. Nobody. Just nobody else has made a time machine but him. and he releases the boulder. He shoots the little tiny miniaturized boulders, and once they get out of his gauntlet canister, they grow again. So boulders just falling on top, and Black Fox is trying to get out of there, and just, it's crazy. Absolutely insane. Really great issues. Probably expensive to get the actual issues, but digitally online, they're as cheap as any other comic. You know what I'm saying? So highly recommended. Go out and check that out. The Marvel app does have those comics up. The Marvel Unlimited app. You can easily read them up there. Anyway, guys, that's it for me. That's it for this particular Spotlight on Story. Guys, Professor Bell, Comic Book University. Class dismissed.